Good morning, good day to everybody on this call, and thank you for joining the Retail Management Hero 6-month product update webinar. My name is Corey Linder, and I will be introducing our first presenter in just a moment. Before we get started, I just want to mention a couple of things. This presentation will run about 40 minutes or so, and then we'll lead into a Q&A. And as you see from the agenda, we have the RMH summary, update on HQ, a little bit about our product roadmap, the product availability, and then we'll go into a couple of demos. One of those demos will include loyalty. So today's webinar is packed with a few hundred of you, so you will all be in mute mode, but feel free throughout the presentation to put any questions in the questions box, and we will address them at the end. We are recording this webinar, and we'll make that available by next week on our website's Videos on Demand section and on our social channels. Speaking of social, and because many of you have requested it, we are excited to inform you we now have an official LinkedIn page for RMH. Simply search for the name Retail Management Hero in the LinkedIn search box and click the follow button, and you'll be able to see our latest updates. It is now my honor to present our first speaker, Colin Urquhart, who is the RMH Product Manager. Colin, feel free to start the presentation.
Thank you very much. Good day, everybody, and thank you very much for taking the time to join us. I think it's been an exciting 6 months and seen a number of changes and enhancements in system. I'd just like to quickly take you through some of those, and obviously a little bit of a view back on where we've been. This stage, effectively, we've looked at specifically increasing the amount of trained and certified partners and resellers. We'll continue to schedule a new set of training agendas going forward. There's a number of installations in progress worldwide. The UK, South Africa, US specifically, as far afield as the Cayman Islands, just to mention a few. We also are at the process now looking at revising the partner training and adding a new training schedule to be published in the Retail Realm and RMH websites, specific to the fact of the increased amount of functionality available on system in the likes of things like role-based securities, things like loyalty inclusions. So all of those we need to start adding in as the product is enhanced and enriched with a lot of retail specific and client requirements as we move forward. A large amount of additional payment integration solutions being added to system. I think if you have a look a little later in the presentation, we'll release some of that, and you'll see there's quite a large amount of these coming in as standard system being added in. So those are exciting as part of the core function of product. System documentation is something we get asked a lot, quite a bit. But without stealing any Jonathan's thunder, he's going to show some very exciting stuff coming around on the website, and we'll start adding a lot of user guides and documentation that will assist in making the use and access to products a lot more clear and a lot simpler. We've also looked very carefully based on interaction with partners and through the Gemini support portal at aligning our development strategy based on the feedback coming from these platforms. I think it's given us a large focus and change in areas of things like bug fixing, stability of product, regression testing. So I think one of those is amounted to the successful implementation of Nestle. So we're quite excited about that. I think it's a very good start off and a very sort of recognized brand on the international market. So it's initial stages, but excited to have that in place. Based on the feedback from a lot of the partners and customers, we've avidly focused on things like increased the regression testing prior to release of any version, so that the user experience is maintained, the perception and the quality of the product is paramount. in order to ensure this, we've also increased the development team to include additional Q&A support staff, focusing on all aspects of the product, being point of sale, back office, the other elements being stock take, and the likes of the loyalty additions which have now come into system. We've also taken another look, a view as to what the impact is of releasing additional features and functions, and in the process of adding a lot of these new features, we've also stipulated that we're adding a hardening sprint where at that point we knuckle down and focus on making sure we've reviewed all system changes, reviewed the impact of the new added functionality, so that we ensure the quality and stability is once again paramount. And I'm hoping that you know, from feedback and from discussion with partners, that this is starting to take hold, and we're giving the users and customers a lot better experience. As I mentioned, some of the things coming into play is things like the added functionality that we've put into 3.1. We mentioned briefly royalty, securities, the POS custom buttons has been a key one that was pushed up the ladder very quickly. The RMH icons, as we start to look at the branding, perception and quality and the way the visibility of the product is affected, marketing team and some of the very smart people are working on that, so quite exciting. I'm sure you've seen that as the versions have been upgraded and moved forward through the different releases. Something that working with a very powerful team in Retail Hero, Anastas specifically, is things like the product release notes, detailing work done and system feature and functionality changes. And I think this gives you a better indication of what's been happening in the background, what you can expect with the version, and it makes the progress we're making a little bit more visible, and I think those add a lot of value to the perception of the product. A lot of the pain spots also being reviewed at the moment is detailing around the revision of the RMH licensing. So we're working very closely and in the final stages of updating it to the live environment, is the ability to use the same license token for the same client. Also the revised ability to renew and reset a license and use the same token to relicense that installation. So the amount of times we've had to revert back to the PAM and get another license token issued in the event of something happening or going wrong or a mistake on the installation or something to that effect, we've now got that buttoned down, and I think the experience about that process will get significantly better in the coming weeks. One of the others, just to review again based on feedback, is just how we manage the system setups, things like the bug fixes and the product support. So we're continually focusing on the escalation and prioritization of all POS, back office, feature requests and bugs by putting it into a sequence zone. This has been profiled where our development team will focus on addressing those first, so that we can ensure that high priority tickets, specifically relating to live installations now, which is something that started to come at us from where we were previously in an advisory or development stage. Now we've got live environments, and these need to be addressed as a matter of priority. So this sequencing allows us to address and have clearer visibility of relevant tickets that need to be managed and resolved in good time. The Gemini updates also ensure system feedback and partners access to resolution and support assistance. So all of these kind of things is added to structure, and a lot of lessons learned, and I think all streamlining at this point to give the user, the partner selling it, and similarly the customer an experience and build the confidence that they're making the right decision to deploy RMH as a solution of choice. That's from me for the moment, so I'm going to hand over. Thank you very much for your time.
Hi everyone, this is Jonathan. I am the Creative Director at Retail Realm. Just wanted to touch base in regards to a couple things. As you see, we do have a new website coming soon. Very, very happy to announce that. It's going to be launching at the end of this week. and we've added all new features and functionality. Every single page has been redeveloped and revamped, and with the goal of ultimately having something that you as partners are proud of, but also to use it as a resource. And to go off of that, I just wanted to touch base on one of the new sections that we've added, which is the RMH Marketplace. The RMH Marketplace is a new section on the revamped RMH website that's going to feature all integrations and add-ons specific to the RMH product. So these integrations will be categorized and listed out in this new section for easy viewing, and then interested parties will be able to browse the RMH Marketplace, find out new functionality, and see it all in one consolidated place. So real quick, as you see right now, this was an instance on our test site. So for the live site, it'll look a little bit different, but essentially this is what it's going to look like. So right now you'll see we have a couple partners on there for their integrations. I'm just going to focus on one right now, which is the e-commerce. So you'll see we focused on the e-commerce tag. Obviously, all integrations for e-commerce will come up. And then when we click on the NitroCell one, this opens up an individual page for that specific add-on. The goal here is to drive traffic to said integration. So if you think of the marketplace kind of as a resource to gather information, and then if you want to dig a little bit deeper, excuse me, you can actually visit that site. So when you click on that visit site button, it then goes to our partners page. So we ask for a couple things, some information on that page, so you can really get involved with the partner, find out more about the integration, and ultimately help out with that ecosystem. So then lastly, I just want to say that if you as a partner want to be involved in this new marketplace, all you need to do is get in contact with your partner account manager. We've made it very streamlined. We have a guidelines document that lists out what we ask to be featured inside the marketplace. And I just want to point out there is still time to be featured on the marketplace. So if you're saying to yourself, oh, they're launching it at the end of the week, there's no way I can get it in time, reach out, let's talk. There still is time, we can get something on there at least. And then also I want to point out, if you haven't already, please, please, please download the Partner Welcome Kit. There's a lot of really great tools in there and new resources specifically into marketing, but also a lot of documents and resources as well for the product itself. So with that, I'm going to pass it off. Thank you, everyone.
Good morning. This is Afshin, and this is going to be one of the first of many sessions that we're going to be introducing the new RMH Central, or the head office HQ, as an RMS replacement. And in the last 6 months after launching the RMH product, we have had many of our resellers and end users calling us and wanting to know, what is our plan, and do we have an update on the RMS HQ replacement? So I'm happy to say that we have been planning this now for the last 6-7 months in quite a lot of details, and we are now going to share with you some of the thought process behind the new RMH Central. Next slide, please. So on the right-hand side, the diagram kind of shows the concept. You have got different stores. Most of them are going to be of a like feature. Some of them may be slightly different stores, so they may not necessarily have the same product range or the same pricings. But fundamentally, they are all going to be sending their data back to the headquarter, and headquarter will actually be telling them what are the products that they are going to be having and controlling that. So that is very similar in the way that the current RMS HQ works. And after debating and looking at time for development and bringing product to market, we have made some decision. The decision is that we are definitely going to create an on-premise HQ. We have gone away from the idea of developing a SaaS model with a monthly subscription. So we are very much following the same existing RMS HQ type strategy. It's going to have the same data structure as the RMH store. So that will preserve the existing historical data, and for those people who have migrated from RMS to RMH and who are part of HQ, the current RMH does work with existing RMS HQ, but obviously some of the advanced functionality that is currently in RMH is not available in the RMS HQ. So we will make sure that all of those kind of issues are resolved and that the additional feature functions have been added. We have already put some programs together for those people who have got RMS HQ and who have got multiple store. We would want, before they migrate, to run some Retail Realm utilities to make sure that they don't have any orphan items that may have been created accidentally in RMS, and make sure that their data is clean before they actually update. But the whole idea is that everything that you have, all of the historical data, is preserved. The other part of it is one of the important aspects of the development of RMH was the fact that we created APIs and we consumed our own APIs in the development of the point of sale. So we will be trying to publish as much of the APIs of the back office and headquarter as possible and make that available to our customers and ISVs, for development purposes. In terms of pricing, we're going to keep the same pricing strategy as RMS. So there would not be any kind of big surprises out there for the partner and the reseller communities. We will make sure that those prices reflect the regional pricing requirements as well. In terms of improvement, we are going to be changing the way that the communication works, and we will be using web services. We'll be improving the data security. And as part of that, we will be making sure that the data that you have got in the transmission mode is secured, but also the data on the database itself is secured. We have got a lot of new features in accounts receivable in purchase order processing. Those have got some implication in terms of what features are going to be available at stores and what will not. So some of the data will be centralized as opposed to be available in both places and will require online availability, like for example payment on accounts receivable. Those kind of things will have to have connections available. The other aspect of the integration for e-commerce, financial, HR, and other systems, again, the APIs that we are developing will have that, and we will also try to have a few integration out of the box that will be supported by Retail Management Hero. We also understand that headquarter is a tool for management to know how a chain of retailers are performing. So we will make sure that we have got some mobile client reporting capability available as well, so people can actually see how they are doing on their mobile phone or tablet as they travel around. We have, for those of you who don't know, we have a reseller advisory board, an advisory committee that meets on a monthly basis. We are electing from that 6 or 7 people who will be participating as advisory on the HQ development. This advisory board names will be published so that the resellers will know who they are and you can then contact your friends who are on this board and give your feedback in terms of the feature functions that you think are going to be necessary for our development, and prioritize those development based on your requirement. But the lowest common denominator for us is that we want to meet all of the developments that is in the current RMS. Now, in terms of time frame, we are right now looking at sometime in the early early fourth quarter of 2017, so October time frame for the release of the product. Though we will make the product available to the reseller community a couple of months before that, so that we have got time to test and get feedback from you guys before we actually launch the product. That's it for me.
Okay, so I'm going to introduce Anastas with the Retail Hero team to walk us through the product roadmap.
All right. Thank you, Corey. So with respect to the product roadmap, we are just releasing the next maintenance release, which is version 3.1.1. In fact, it was released a little bit ahead of schedule. It is already available for download, so feel free, please go to the portal, download this version. It has a number of important fixes, stability improvements, so that's all in there. With respect to our next version, that is 3.2, that is scheduled for the second week of February. It will bring, in addition to more stability improvements and bug fixes, it will bring some new key features. One is the back office manager journaling. The other is GL account posting, also known as the QuickBooks integration. That's the ability to export GL accounts so that different systems can use those export for importing it. And last but not least, the next 3.2 feature version will have weights and measures and tip compliance. I say compliance because we're also working on the certification. That takes some time, but we are going to use our next 3.2 version for our certification submission. So the RMH 3.2, again, scheduled for the second week of February, and we will use that version for our submission, and we expect to achieve NTIP compliance in the sometime in the late Q1 of this year, sometime in the March timeframe. Afshin just gave an update on our release management, Retail Management Hero headquarters. Like he said, we're going through a lot of planning, a lot of architecting work, working closely with our HQ headquarters members from the advisory board to get their feedback and what features should go into the product. So a lot of exciting things ahead of us in the 2017. I believe next is Tony.
Yeah, thanks very much, Anastas. So just to kind of wrap up things in terms of general features and availability around the RMH product, we have many viewers and listeners on the webinar today. Partners, resellers, ISVs, end-user customers, potential customers. So just to really emphasize that the product, the offering is a partner-led experience. So we don't sell direct to market. We're going via our partners. Many partners that have worked with Retail Hero and also Retail Realm for many years that are trained and certified on the purchase, the installation, and training and support. We have a policy, as Anastas has highlighted, and Afshin, around continued development and improvement, hardening, where we're, as you can see, and we're demonstrating, we're downloading frequent product updates via the rmhpos.com website. That's obviously open 24/7 to partners to download. Not to mention we've got a range of expanding product docs and some training videos on there that highlight key aspects of the application. There's partner resources and marketing collateral that I know Corey has spoken about before that we're bringing online via that website. And then to back up via the support, we have a 24/5 partner support program in place via the Gemini. So there's links to the support section via the rmhpos.com website that take you right into Gemini, where you can self-register and file your support request. Not to mention there's the enhancement plan that partner account managers will help tailor and put in place to make sure that the product stays up to date. And we have some various support packs, for instance, telephone support packs, weekend support for mission critical customers and partners where they will need the ability to telephone in to discuss a particular Gemini ticket. So they're just a few features that we've got ongoing in addition to the good hard work around product development and training and so on. So that rounds my section up, and over to you, I think, Anthony, now.
Wonderful, thank you, Tony. And now it's over to the demos. First we'll start with loyalty. So Anthony will just show the loyalty program.
Hello everyone. Hi. Could I have a presentation? Oh, yes. Thank you. As it's coming up, okay, please let me know when you see my screen.
We can see it, Anthony.
All right. So RMH Loyalty is a complementary add-on which comes as a part of RMH product package. It's not installed automatically. You have to install it separately, but it's included in the installation package essentially. So the RMH Loyalty is based on Retail Hero's previous loyalty programs for RMS, Hero Points and QRewards. Some of you may be very familiar with these developments. So what it is it's on-premise software integrated with RMH database. There's no cloud component, at least not yet. It's a very flexible, powerful, and user-friendly system. Now I'll try to show you some of the features a little bit down the road. It makes use of the new RMH features such as coupons and charges, for instance. In this system we have 3 types of point collection and 7 types of point redemption. Of course it's a loyalty system, so it's all around, is about points, loyalty or value loyalty points. So we have multiple rules collection for collecting and redeeming points, things like accelerators or multipliers for collecting points. This is kind of like additional incentive that you can give to your customers. And we also introduced something very new here. We can have multiple parallel loyalty programs, and I will explain a little bit later what that means. So, as I mentioned, there are 4 different ways to collect points. You can have something based on a purchase price, we call it price points. We can collect points based on purchase quantity, called quantity points. Then the points could be awarded by transaction subtotal, we call it basket points. And actually another way, it's just another way of using quantity points is to make sure that the customer gets awarded for any visit to the store. And there is 7 different ways to redeem points, such as dollar discount, percentage discount, things like subtotal offset. It's a type of discount when the item's actually not being discounted in the transaction, but the whole transaction is being discounted. We also introduce coupons. The coupons is the same type of reward. The reward definitely is some sort of discount, but coupon allows to reward the customer without actually applying the discount in an immediate transaction, but giving them coupon for a specific item or maybe for any item later for later redemption. So it's kind of delayed redemption. Dollar coupon discount, percent coupon discount, subtotal offset coupon, and we also have something called reward item. A reward item is a discounted or free item or a gift of sort, and it's going to be used in some specific scenarios. For example, when it comes to quantity-based systems, something like QRewards based, buy 10 get 1 free, or buy buy 4 cups of coffee, get one at half price, and things like that. So in loyalty, we have item groups. It's a new thing. We call it incentive groups. So basically, you can combine the items based on individual items or the whole departments and categories into a particular group towards which a loyalty collection could be applied. We also have customer groups. That's also a new feature. By having customer groups, you can organize your customers in clubs or levels, so to speak, and apply different type of rules to different customers. But we have, as I mentioned, multiple loyalty programs. What it is, I will explain a little bit later, but basically multiple loyalty programs at the same time, parallel loyalty programs allow to separate your loyalty systems from different items or different customers, and using different types and rules. Sometimes you have to apply to different item groups or apply to different customers. And in addition to everything, we also have additional incentive in the system. Some of you who may be familiar with Hero Points, you would remember that. We have four types of point accelerators. One of them is happy hour. Then there is a promotion, which applies specifically like double points during certain periods of time. And then there is a sales history based on how much the customers spent at your store. So they can start getting twice the points if they spend over $1,000, triple points if they spend over $2,000 and so on. And also club system that allows you to create additional clubs that allow your customers to collect double points, triple points, things like that. So let me explain what I meant by multiple loyalty programs. Let's take a look at this diagram. A single customer in your store may be participating in multiple loyalty programs. For example, let's say it's a pet food store. For a pet food stores, sometimes it's very popular. There's a very popular system called frequent buyer. It's essentially a type of buy 10, buy X, get Y for Z type of system over time. So you purchase for a specific brand of a dog food, for example, over time, and after you purchase 10 bags, you get one free, or 11 bags, you get one free, things like that. So in such store, the customer may be participating in multiple programs at the same time. Like, for example, on all accessories, you would set up a price point system, which gives you $10 off on any accessories when you spend $100 in accessories. Okay, only applies to accessories. Then there may be 2 or more different type of loyalty programs based on quantity, because the customer may be buying, say, for example, pet food for their large dog, and then also for small cat. And so there could be 2 separate quantity-based programs. Each of them, say, like, for example, after you purchase 10 food bags of NutriDog Large, you get 1 bag free. And the second program could be, cans for cats, and after you purchase 24 cans, you can get 2 for free. Things like that. So there will be could be multiple of these programs. And yet you can introduce another one based on basket points, and I have it here as program 99 because there may be many different programs like this. So it says that whenever you spend in one transaction over $500, you get a 10% coupon applicable to anything in the future. So that's an example of multiple loyalty programs running at the same time. Let's take a look at the anatomy of a loyalty program. Loyalty program consists of 2 things in our architecture. It consists of collection schedule and redemption schedule. So basically, we have to, in order to define the loyalty program, we have to define how to collect points and how to redeem those points. And each of these things we call schedules. It's also take input, like, first of all, depending on the type of the collection or redemption, there will be separate different rules. Some rules are mandatory, some rules are optional, but you can include, like, for example, in the collection schedule, you have to include some collection rules. You can include customer groups, item groups, and accelerators, for example. So that would constitute a collection schedule. And then you have to define redemption. You have to see how those points will be used or redeemed. So you have to define some of the redemption rules, and also maybe including, you know, item groups and customer groups. It's I will show you some very simple scenario, but the point is this loyalty system is very, very flexible, and you can do really interesting thing with setting up your loyalty system. Okay, so now there's a time for the demonstration, and it's a recorded video. So now we're looking at the Loyalty Manager. Loyalty Manager is a program that is installed together with when you install the extension, loyalty extension for RMH, and it allows you to configure your loyalty systems. So there are multiple vertical tabs here. You can see each of them is responsible for a certain area. So let's start with creating a very simple loyalty program based on price points. It's the same type of hero points used to do for RMS. As I explained before, we create a loyalty program, we have to create first collection schedule and redemption schedule. That's what we're doing here. So this is price points, and the type of this program. We have 3 different types of collection. This one is going to be price points, which means that basically every dollar that the customer spends at the store will be get some points. Sorry for the typos. So now let's define the rules. There are mandatory rules here, and one mandatory rule is 4 points per unit. Unit in this case is dollar or a currency value, and the default is 1. So essentially you can have anything. You can have 100 points per dollar spent, 1,000 points per dollar spent. Default is 1. So I will accept that in this case. And so now we have created the collection schedule, which will generate 1 point per every dollar spent. But that's not all. I want to add additional rule that will help our program to be a little bit more sensible. And this rule is to introduce rounding, because of course the price could be not a whole number, and we want it to be rounded. Our points we want to be whole number all the time, so we want to round them to the nearest. Okay. So now we're going to save it. And by the way, the program will not allow me to save if any of the mandatory rules are missing, so it will tell exactly what is missing. Now we're creating collection schedule, and there are 7 different types, as I mentioned, of the collections, and I will select the most obvious one as a dollar discount. So according to the type of this redemption, a customer will receive a discount as in a reward in the form of a discount in a transaction when they have sufficient number of points. Okay, and let's add some rules. So mandatory rule here is how many points redemption value. So what's a reward for how many points? The default is $10 off for 100 points. And you can have anything here, you can change it. And by the way, you can also have multiple levels of this. Like say, for example, for 200 points, I will give $20 off, and for 300 points, I will give $30 off, and so on. So it could be multiple. In this particular type of redemption, you can have multiple levels of redemption. And now we also have to add the reason code. The reason code is a discount. Because it's a discount, the reason code is a standard RMH discount reason code, which has to be created first in the back office manager. But this is also mandatory, is just because we have to identify those discounts somehow. And using a unique discount code is very important, so you will be able to see these loyalty transactions in your reports. Okay, so now we've finished creating the redemption schedule, and we're ready to create a loyalty program. So let's call it Hero Points Loyalty, and add the collection and redemption schedules that we just created. Loyalty program can also have some optional things like time span or require confirmation or participating. In this case, I will keep it very, very simple. Okay, now we're ready to go to the POS and see how it works there. Okay, so we've created a Hero Points type loyalty system in the POS, and now we're looking at the POS screen. First of all, we have to select a customer. Of course, loyalty program does work with a customer, and we need to select a customer for the transaction. As you see, as we selected the customer, there is a new tab, new vertical tab here. That's a part of which is installed by the loyalty system. It will reflect all the loyalty information. For now, it's empty. It only contains the customer information, but no loyalty points. So let's add some items. Just to remind you, the loyalty program will basically collect 1 point per $1 that is spent. And my goal here is to make my subtotal more than $100, so we will have over 100 points, which we'll be able to redeem. Because remember how we defined the schedule in 3 levels, and for 100 points we will get $10 off, but it's in the next transaction. Okay, so we just entered the transaction. Let's take a look at the receipt. If we go to the receipt, we see that there is a new loyalty session. It's called General Loyalty. By the way, everything can be customized. You can give your own name to the loyalty system. But what it says that this customer participates in Hero Points loyalty program, which is a type of price points. And now the customer has 111 points. And the customer is eligible for redemption. That's what eligible means. And remaining 89 points to the next level, actually, because it's multi-level program. It's 89 points to the next level, which is 200 points. Now let's see how the redemption works. Select the same customer. Customer comes next time. So we see now that this tab demonstrates the information that the customer has points. And let's add some items. Microwave oven here, $44. And let's tender this transaction. Okay, now before the tender screen comes up, you will see the new prompt that comes up here. It prompts the cashier to apply redemption because customer has enough points. At this point, cashier may ask the customer if they want to redeem it or maybe if they want to keep collecting points. And then we select available collection. Customer can only use 100 points because that's as much as they have. If they have 300 points, you would see 3 different levels of redemptions here. Now, if you noticed, behind the scene, before this screen showed up, the item was actually discounted for $10. And now we tender it with cash again. And let's take a look at the receipt. So it says we saved $10. The discount is applied with that reason code that we used for configuring loyalty points. And now the customer has 45 points because they redeemed some points, but they also collected during this transaction. Actually, any of these rules could be applied or modified. So, for example, they may not need to collect points when the redemption happens. Things like that. There's a lot of different rules that can customize your loyalty system. Okay, I believe this is it for my demonstration. There is one more, but we don't have time, I believe. So pass it back to Tony Winters.
Yeah, thanks very much, Anthony, for that great demonstration of the loyalty. Just bear with me while I can cue my demo up. Okay. So I'm just going to give 5 or 10 minutes overview on payment processing, just to show you some of the advances that we've made in the last 6 months with RMH. So diving straight in, we're going to take a look at the back office. I've also prepared an actual demo of the payment processing in action in 2 or 3 minutes, but we'll just show you some of the features and functions in the back office that we have as standard out of the box. So if I log into the RMH Store Manager, down my left hand side I have the various tabs. If I go into the setup, I just want to highlight that the payment processing, unlike RMS and some other platforms, the payment processing is available out of the box in the regular store manager. We have a couple of key profiles that one is required to set up. You can see we're currently supporting 8 processors out of the box: Vantiv, Cayenne, WorldPay, Heartland, PC, EFT POS in Australia, Optonomy in the UK. And these are where the merchant ID details for this particular merchant and store would be housed. So from a configuration standpoint, getting a merchant onboarded, it becomes very, very straightforward to key these details in as part of the installation process. We also have a device profile which is used to configure some aspects of the device, and also functionality profile in order to enable 1 or 2 features that are specific to those payment providers. So for instance, we can configure a gift card item or select which tender this particular payment processor refers to within RMH. So you can see it's very, very straightforward. And obviously we provide documentation. We've got 1 or 2 videos that accompany setting this up. And then once you've set up your payment provider, the next stage really is to attribute that to a particular individual POS register. So I'm going into my registers here. I will be setting other hardware aspects up, such as receipt printers, poll displays, scale integrations. And then when I come to set my payment provider, I just click on the payment profiles tab, and that's where I would select my particular profiles. And you can see I could have one payment provider on one register, whilst another payment provider is on a different register. So one of the other things that we've just recently introduced are the receipts, so I can query all the credit card, debit card processing type receipt transactions here from one screen. So I can sort and search by auth code, by transaction mode. It tells me if there's a signature attached to that particular transaction. And then one of the other features, if my payment provider features tokenization, as Vantiv does, the ability to store credit card numbers effectively in a secure manner on the POS station for recurring use. So for some sort of subscription or gym membership, or just because that's the convenience that the store offers, we can also query those from the back office here and edit and delete them as we need to. So they're just several of the feature functions that we have out of the box in RMH Store Manager. Let's go and dive straight into a live demo here that I've prepared for you. We're showing the Cayenne Genius device here, just because I happen to have that handy. I could have showed you Vantiv, Optonomy, some of the other ones that I have in my QA station here. So let's go ahead. I log into the POS, and I'm going to ring up a few items on the transaction. You can see my camera is probed onto the device on the right hand side, and if you notice, as I scan these items, I'm going to add some nachos. I've got a Mars bar, 1 or 2 other items. You can see the line display on the actual Genius device is updating, and that's really for the benefit of the customer as they're watching the items rung up. So this again doubles up as a poll display, saves real estate at the POS station, and you can see as I make changes to my transaction, you can see they're reflected in real time on that display. And part of our hardening sprint that Anastas and Colin mentioned earlier, we've made some improvements here, so some speed performance enhancements around how this operates. We've been working with the team at Cayenne to optimize the network connectivity. So when I'm ready to check out and pay, I click tender, I hit the plus key on my card. I've got options to either enter manual or to dip or swipe. And you can see I'm ready. Then I've got my test card, which I'm going to insert. This is a full EMV card here. This particular EMV card is configured for a signature, so depending upon the bank, you may be required to enter a PIN, or indeed as I'm entering my signature here. That signature shows up on the cashier's display, so they can also verify that it looks like a bona fide signature and not just an X. And then when I'm ready, I hit the finish button, and I can continue with printing the receipt or emailing it as I wish. So I'm then ready to for the next customer, essentially. So that's a quick 5-minute tour of payment processing on the backside, setting it up in the first place, and then in action at the POS. Just to really finish off before I hand back, just a couple of takeaways from this, just to consolidate. We have a choice of 8 processors that are certified and out of the box. I think you've seen that the installation setup is very much simplified over previous offerings around RMS, and it gives you the flexibility to configure the POS stations how you wish in any given store. The payment providers that we work with, and the ones that are going to be coming in the future, we currently offer 8. We're in the process of certifying processors such as Shift4 at the moment. That will be coming along in Q1 this year. They're really leading edge companies, really staying ahead of the curve, almost creating the curve as regards devices and feature functions, to really offer the merchants and the customers the kind of features that they expect and demand today. Anastas and Colin have harped on today about the continued development support, and I think you've seen that. We've got 8 now certified, and as I mentioned, we've got others to come. And then last but not least, we talk about the work that we're doing, but I also have to mention the work of the payment processors are also doing, our partners in this offering. The great work they do in helping the end user customers getting onboarded, for instance, the various referral programs and support programs they have, and each of those processes has real unique USPs that make them unique amongst our 8 selected ones that we have with RMH. So have to give them a big hand in the great support they've been working with us over the last 6 months to 1 year as we've been taking this to market. So that's me. I'm done. I'm going to hand back to my team. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions on payment processing, just pop them in the chat window. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Tony. We're going to pass it back to Anastas for a Q&A.